Happy Monday, friends, and welcome to your weekly dose of multilingual motivation with the Future is Bilingual podcast. Now let's get started. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Multilingual Motivation. Today we're going to talk about something a little more serious. I know last week we talked about music and I promised you that we would start with some easy, fun topics. However, hear me out on why I want to talk about mindset and growth at this point in time. So spring just started, and spring is a natural time of rebirth and growth. So I think it's really important that we look today at what we believe about ourselves as learners and how we see ourselves so that we can work better in the future and overcome this step now rather than trying to take care of it later down the road. The best time to do it is now. So we just celebrated the International Day of Multilingualism on March 27th, and it got me thinking a lot about my identity. And I put on Instagram a post about all the different words that I identify with: bilingual, trilingual, polyglot, plurilingual, multilingual. There's all these different terms and terminology. And, I'm curious how you guys see yourselves. Do you see yourself as bilingual? Maybe you don't see yourself there yet. Maybe you're trying to become bilingual, or maybe trilingual or polyglot or whatever term, multilingual, whatever term that speaks to you. But I want you to think, if you don't identify with one of those terms yet, why not? What is holding you back? Is it that you don't think you've reached the quote unquote fluent level yet? Is it because you haven't passed a certain exam yet? So why do you not think that you can claim one of these terms in your identity if you're not already claiming one? So really, I want you to think about your own personal image of yourself as a language learner. There's other terms that I associate myself with, like francophile, francophone. So francophile is someone that loves French culture and everything to do with the French language and culture. Francophone is someone who speaks the French language. So there's many different terms that you could associate with yourself. And I want to encourage you to claim those terms. Even if you just are starting a language, you can still say, I am an Italian learner. I love this culture. I love this language, even if you're not fluent yet. So it doesn't have to be based on fluency or based on your exams or based on anything of that nature. You can claim a term without having to prove to anybody that you are authentically something. I also just want to make the point that you don't have to be actively doing something every single day to claim it as part of your identity. So let me give you some examples. I am not currently teaching right now in this stage of life, but I still put teacher in my identity. That's still part of who I am because I know that that's what I love to do, and that's just part of my identity. So I'm not going to erase the word teacher from my identity just because currently I don't have a classroom full of students. Same with the word polyglot. I don't speak all 4 of my languages every single day. However, I still consider myself a polyglot. So you don't have to be actively doing these things every single day. You don't have to be proving yourself to anybody. This is just how you see yourself. What are the things that you love? What are the things that you are passionate about? That makes up your identity. Now, it goes without saying, but identities do and will change over time. So I also don't want you to be too attached to a certain word in your identity if it's no longer fitting who you are. We need to be flexible and change with the times. We've all learned this in the past year when the world was turned upside down. So if something is no longer serving you, if there is a word you identify with and it's no longer serving you, feel free to let it go. Just say, I don't need that word anymore. That is no longer who I am. Now, this can go beyond the language learning, but this is your chance. This is your moment to say, I'm going to rebrand myself this year, claim these new words, let go of these old words, and start moving towards the life that I want to live. So our 2 tasks for this week are to think about our identities and what words we use to identify ourselves, whether it's just in our heads or the words that we actually tell people when they say, oh, who are you? What do you do when you meet someone new? So that's task number 1, is to really go deep and think about your identity. Task 2 is to start working on building and strengthening your growth mindset. If you've never heard the term growth mindset, the term was coined by Carol Dweck, who is a professor of psychology at Stanford University. So there are a lot of great websites out there, a lot of great posters and charts and infographics and just lots of information and images that you can find on the internet if you type in growth mindset. But right now, I want to just give you a couple things that I found helpful. So instead of thinking one thing, here's the other thing you should think. So instead of thinking, I'm not good at this, you should think, what am I missing? Instead of, I give up, you should think, maybe I'll use a different strategy. Instead of, can't make this any better, I can always improve. So you can kind of see how we're working towards building perseverance and practice. Practice makes good. Practice makes great. It doesn't necessarily make perfect. A lot of people have issues with that practice makes perfect terminology. But it's the idea that you can always do better. So, I made a mistake. Okay, mistakes help me learn. I can't do this. Okay, maybe I need help. Maybe I'm going to keep training. If plan A doesn't work out, there's always a plan B. So it's just this idea that we're not going to just give up. We can keep trying, and it doesn't mean you have to try endlessly if something's not working, right? There's other phrases like try something else, ask for help. So we're not just going to keep banging our head against the wall if it's not working. We're going to look and see how to best help ourselves to learn. So it's basically the idea that you can always improve. You can always do something better. It's not like a one-time pass or fail, and if you fail, it's just over for you. So I think it's a really great thing to look into, especially if you've never heard of growth mindset before. So think about your identity this week. Check out growth mindset and some examples of it. It's also a really awesome tool to teach young children. And the more we can talk about growth mindset and how we can keep trying and keep improving, that's going to help them in all areas of their life, but especially academically. If they're struggling, they're not just going to shut down and give up. So I could talk at length about this, but I will keep these episodes short, and I will put some links into the show notes. So if you'd like to check out some of the things that I mentioned here, you can easily find them. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope that these little episodes are helpful and give you some food for thought and things to think about during the week. And if you have any questions, or if you'd like to get in touch and talk to me about something, you can reach out. You can find me on Instagram at thefutureisbilingual, all one word, or you can write me an email at tfibpodcast@gmail.com. I always love to hear from you guys. If you are enjoying this podcast, please consider leaving a rating and review. That is the best gift you can give, because ratings really help podcasts be seen and be shared across different platforms, and it just helps grow the community. So I'd really appreciate that. You can always share as well on your social media to help spread the word. Thank you guys, and have a great day.